everybody. I'm Atossa Soltani. I founded Amazon Watch in 1996, working with indigenous peoples to protect the Amazon rainforest and advance indigenous rights. Most of my time spent between California and the Amazon. I've been working in Ecuador, Peru, Colombia, and Brazil. And I would say my superpower, one of the superpower, is the relationships that I've developed with indigenous peoples in that time. I feel like very grateful to be here. I'm new to the space. I feel like I'm drinking from a fire hose. I'm getting a lot of information, and like many of you, I've been very inspired by the potential of blockchain for saving the planet. I've also been concerned about the use of energy for mining coins, and I read yesterday that 1.8% of all the world's energy is used to mine coins. And hopefully that's about every solar panel on the planet right now. So hopefully this solution, out of this chaos and new emergence, there'll be some real solutions that are aligned with the life force of the planet. So I wanted to start with showing you the project I'm working on, which is called the Sacred Headwaters Initiative. It's an ambitious initiative involving 12 indigenous nations in the headwaters of the Amazon Basin, an area, 60 million acres. I would say it's about more than half the size of California. A very ambitious project to protect this most biodiverse part of the planet. And blockchain can be a technology. I have more questions than answers for you, but there are lots of smart, excited people wanting to do good here. So I'm looking forward to tapping you all as Brain Trust, and also helping generate some of the resources that you are all in touch with towards this ecological part of the planet.
Rainforest generates 20% of the world's oxygen. But now scientists understand that it also functions as the pumping heart of the Earth's hydrological system. Billions of Amazon trees pump water vapor into the sky, forming massive flying rivers with a daily flow greater than the Amazon River itself, which is the largest river in the world, spreading rain to the entire continent and the world beyond. NASA calls the Amazon rainforest the engine of the global weather system. Indigenous peoples of the Amazon have always called it the heart of the world. It is clearly a vital organ of the Earth's biosphere. Yet every minute, an area the size of 7 football fields is being destroyed by industrial activities. This short-sighted destruction is threatening the life-sustaining systems of our planet, as well as releasing the forest's massive stockpile of carbon and greenhouse gases into our atmosphere. But there is hope. Where the Andes Mountains descend into the Amazon Basin, at the very headwaters of the Amazon River, we find one of the most critical opportunities for intervention. The indigenous peoples who live there consider the region sacred, and for decades have diligently protected it from the constant threat of incursion by extractive industries. Now, a global alliance is forming to support their call for permanent protected status of this critical region. What happens to the headwaters affects the entire river basin.
El bosque es sagrado para nosotros, porque es allí donde nace el agua que recorre en las venas de la Amazonía.
Teeming with life, these sacred headwaters are also treasured by biologists, for it is here that they have discovered the highest levels of biodiversity for plants, birds, mammals, and amphibians in all of the Amazon basin, and very likely in the entire world. For example, in 1 hectare of rainforest here, there are more tree species than in all of the US and Canada combined. Paleontologists have evidence that this area served as a refuge for plant and animal species during the mass extinction of the last ice age, a sort of Noah's Ark, and it is expected to be a similarly critical refuge in the face of global warming. The Amazon Sacred Headwaters Initiative supports indigenous peoples' continued stewardship of this ecologically, culturally, and spiritually significant region. It aims to establish a globally recognized and protected biocultural sanctuary for the future of all life.
Proteger las cuencas sagradas es una gran
website where you can see the rest of that video, but just to give you this idea that there's a consortium of organizations from Ecuador and Peru, including the Pachamama Alliance, Amazon Watch, and Terra Mater from Ecuador, The indigenous federations are really the governors of this area. They are the legal landowners of these territories, and their territories form this huge mosaic. Let's see, I'm gonna go advance, please. Another one. Yeah, so this is the map of the Amazon Basin, which is the largest rainforest in the world that I mentioned, the size of continental United States. A third of the Amazon Basin is indigenous territories. Either is land that has been legally titled collectively to the communities or land that's in the process. And about half of the Amazon has been in some level of protection, but most of that exists on paper because there's no enforcement of regulations and policies. So destruction happens. We're at a tipping point. We've lost about 17% entirely of the entire basin of all 9 countries, and another 20% is degraded. We're somewhere between 40% destroyed or degraded. Somewhere between 40 and 50%, we're going to reach a tipping point of unraveling of this large hydrological cycle. The rain from the Amazon also brings here in the United States and all over the world. It's the planet's rain machine. So it's the basis. It's truly not just the biggest online bookstore, which most of the people, when I say Amazon, they say, hey, is that Amazon.com? Anyways, next slide, please. The headwaters region, as I mentioned, is this most biodiverse part of the Amazon rainforest that's, continue, show you. The red area that you see there is where the highest level of species for plants, mammals, amphibians, and birds have been discovered. This is almost entirely the whole sacred headwaters area is in red, as you see it here, the highest diversity area. Next. And this is the map of current and proposed oil and gas projects. This is where the industry is looking to drill for the last drops of oil our climate cannot afford to burn. So we're in this massive moment of really crossroads. We either go this path and lose this place, sacred and important, or we come up with the transformation to an ecological civilization. That's the goal of the Headwaters Initiative. So our goal is to protect the 60 million acres of rainforest permanently. And that doesn't mean that there can't be livelihood activities. It just means no industrial scale extraction, nothing that destroys the web of life in this region. But we are working, so indigenous peoples are leading this initiative. They're doing the hard work. They're standing their ground. And what we need to do is come forward with support, with resources, with visibility, with political will to help bring about the change that's needed. We're working right now on enrolling governments and entrepreneurs and foundations and philanthropists in what we're raising, which is about $3 million for developing the large-scale plan with the 12 nations and their base communities. So it's a very exciting, amazing opportunity. And in the meantime, we're also fighting the battles. While we're developing this long-term solution, we need resources now because the places I was mentioning are actually literally on the line. There's destruction happening every single day. Next one. And so, basically, what's our theory of change? If we support indigenous peoples, we can see greater rainforest protection. We can fight these projects as a way to buy time, but really we need incentives, financial incentives. I was happy to hear earlier speakers talking about the need to reduce financial drivers behind deforestation and increase financial incentives for conservation. And I do think that the big problem and the big opportunity with blockchain is that the money system is behind the destruction of these forests. The debt-based money system puts these countries in debt. These countries are in so much debt that in order to pay the interest on the debt, they are required through their financial, their debt agreements to cut down the forest and extract the resources. So this is the direct impact of the debt system. So what is it that, and we can just move forward through this quickly because I know we're end of the day. How do we change this whole economic system and bring about the transition that we all need. And I look at the Amazon as, you know, the heart and the lungs of the planet. As a living organism, you know, we could lose our arms and, you know, survive, but losing our heart or our lungs is, you know, puts the whole world in peril. So partly what we're looking at is, what is nature's operating system? And how does nature's operating system come into designing both the money system and the economic system for our, which blockchain could make possible? Or it could just be the same system, you know, it could still be the elitist system that concentrates wealth and increases inequality. That's the other way that I could see this working. But so what is nature's ways? Nature works in communities of life that collaborate to create more opportunities for life. It's very simple. That's the DNA of the biological systems of the planet. So, you know, this is a question for you. I don't have the answer. I just have a question. How do you solve this riddle through blockchain? Growth is the mentality. Growth happens, but a growth that happens in nature is the growth in complexity. It's the growth in quality. It's a qualitative growth. It's a flourishing. It's not quantitative. And quantitative growth, when we see in the organism, when there's quantitative growth, that's generally a sign of imbalance. In fact, what other organisms grow beyond limits? Or what other types of cells grow beyond limits? Cancer. So the metaphor here is that we need to move from quantitative to qualitative. Next. And the challenge for the cryptocurrency is to really, we have to solve these problems all at once. We can't just isolate. We have to look at this idea of development and poverty alleviation, which has perpetuated the same system. So instead of development and poverty alleviation, indigenous peoples give us a lot of wisdom about their, you know, they're the people who have lived here for thousands of years and are still here, and their forests are still here. So they're demonstrating proof of concept. They are living in wisdom traditions that are enabling them to live with the natural world and not be at war with the natural world. And so well-being is one of the concepts. Collective well-being, emphasis from individual to community, emphasis from development to well-being, this idea of stewardship and harmony. These are the concepts that come from indigenous knowledge traditions, and I think they have a lot of relevance in the modern world. Beyond debt-based money system, we're looking at, there's a coin, I don't know, have people heard of circular or circles? The circles is a coin that's basically playing with this idea of universal basic income, using cryptocurrency platform for universal basic income. Universal basic income is kind of analogous to having a credit-based money system instead of a debt-based money system, and it's something we're exploring for this region. And then beyond the industrial scale fossil fuels, we want economies that are aligned with localization instead of globalization. They're regenerative, and they are based on concepts of conservation, stewardship, long-term stewardship. And you know, basically, we are also needing to figure out, but we have a short-term problem. There are investors holding billions of dollars worth of oil and mining assets. We want them to keep it in the ground. We are fighting to keep those resources in the ground. So is there a way that, you know, cryptocurrency could raise money for keeping resources in the ground? That's another challenge to this community. Next. Yeah, so we need, what is it that we need now? We are in a, you know, kind of red alert mode, dealing with destruction all around us while we're also trying to design solutions. So we need money. We need funding to keep going, to fight the battles, and develop the solutions. And we need the brain trust to design solutions that come out of the blockchain. You know, there is, of course, the big problem in this region is that most people are not online. You know, you get there and you get offline. You know, you have very little to no connectivity. Although satellite internet, we've helped install, and some of the communities do have satellite-based internet. But this needs to be part of the design. And this is what's exciting about this area, is that even Ecuador, for example, is one of the two countries, uses the dollar. They don't have their own currency. So they're actually a perfect opportunity to show Ecuador that they could have a credit-based debt system, a credit-based monetary system that gets them out of this debt cycle. And it's a semi-autonomous region, so there's opportunity to really innovate here. And we do need those financial solutions. And I would just say, the last speaker, Snowball, talked about the billions of dollars in capital gains that has happened in the crypto world, which is congratulations to all those folks who have been holding those assets. And I know that, what nonprofits offer is a ability to receive donations for tax write-off and be able to invest that money both in sort of seeding solutions that could eventually help the blockchain solutions for this region, but also deal with the emergency that the house is on fire. And so, next, I'll just conclude by saying, for example, one of the tasks we have is on the Ecuadorian side, indigenous territories are all titled and demarcated. On the Peru side, this entire region is claimed and yet not yet titled. So we have to do a lot of work, invest in titling, and those titles could be potentially recognized in the blockchain. And this area is also the highest number of jaguars, and jaguar is a sacred totem of the indigenous people. So I always invite the jaguar in my presentations. Spirit of the jaguar. Next. So we have the sacredheadwaters.org. You can go there. You can donate through. We have a crypto wallet. You can donate there. You can connect with us, even if you can't donate right now, but want to stay in touch with us and be involved in solutions. You can let us know how to stay in touch with you. You can send us suggestions. There's a form on there. And I'm just going to end by saying that, we are not fighting for nature. It's like this idea, we're not fighting for nature. We're actually cells in the body of nature waking up and realizing we are part of a living organism, and that we're not really like going out there and fighting, which is hard to, like Buckminster Fuller said, it's hard to fight what is already coming. But we are cells awakening to how we are one body and organisms, cells within that organism that are responding to the larger living body of life. So I will leave you with that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.